Yo, doing something a little bit different today. Some viewer coaching. Today we're looking at this Azoth player. This is Vern, a 2300 Azoth main, looking to hit 2400. They're saying that their biggest weaknesses are trying to play around everything at once, a lack of confidence, and struggling to win consistently against weaker opponents. We can see this is not the best start in this match, and thank you to Vern for sending these in. It's not fun to send in games where you lose as well. So that is, that is great. The first couple things that I'm noticing, certainly a lack of confidence. We can see on this defense, one of the biggest things is the immediate panic dodging in this direction. I imagine this is going to repeat itself because that seems to be one of the habits, is when something goes wrong, just hit that button immediately. And yeah, I can see a little bit about this defense as well. Now, most of the time when I recommend people to pay more attention to their gameplay, it's pay more attention to your attacks. Like, when exactly are you attacking? And I think a little bit of these moves are panic, just attacking at the same exact rhythm with the same exact waiting time. Like, we can see attack, wait, attack, wait, attack, right? It's the exact same time every time. And if the opponent is falling for it, that means you're winning neutral over and over and over again. If it's not working, it means you're losing neutral over and over and over again. Here's the same dodge. What I would say, honestly, is the attack timing is one thing, but the jump timing, this is a big one. We'll see how you make it back onto the ledge here. It sort of seems like you're jumping for not much of a purpose, just hoping that the jump will create a scenario where you can get a hit, which is, I think, the backward way to look at it, where instead of jumping hoping that it'll create a scenario, which I don't think is what you're actively thinking about, the jump should be the thing that creates the scenario, if that makes sense. I know that sounds really similar, that sounds a little loopy, whatever. It's more like the jump has a purpose, and what is that purpose? I don't know if this current game has that answer. It's sort of just jumping around, and then if a hit lands, that's good, and then you can sort of push your advantage from there. I think your aggression is really great. I think this is something that we can really identify as one of your strengths, is when you land the hits, you're able to put on pressure, you're able to, I think, retain good mindset, good mentality in the middle of the game. But when things start to slip a little bit, you start to panic, especially in this offstage position right here. You have a lot of time, you have a lot of options, but you're sort of rushing up, hoping to land an attack. I think right there is fine, but I noticed it a couple times earlier. And if that pattern persists all throughout this match, then that's another thing we can look at, is a bit of impatience off the ledge and maybe a nervousness. I think the biggest thing ultimately is your defense that I've been noticing in this game. So with the panic, yeah, like look at this aggression. This is great. This is actually such a good scenario. Like, you didn't get the dodge read, but it didn't even matter, or the jump read rather here with this down air. It's either, you know, a fast fall or a wake up attack or a jump. You didn't get the jump read, that's fine. You still get an additional hit. Like, that was a great scenario. It puts you in kill percent, or at least close to it. You know your Azoth signatures, you're trying to cover yourself here, but the defense is really where things start to slip. So I think this is maybe a little bit of reaction time, where you're not necessarily reacting to this hit right now, and so you get hit with the follow-up. Let's see what this dodge window was, because you know what, that is actually a tight string, and I get hit by this all the time myself as well. Yeah, so that did have a dodge window, so that's something you could get out of. And then this, you're immediately dodging as well. You're like, I just got to get out of this scenario. I think that was good. In some of the previous scenarios, right when you dodge, you tended to get immediately into combat right when this Petra wanted it, and that was just a great scenario, trapping your opponent, noticing that they're rushing back onto the stage, right? If you're this Petra, there's a few things you can do, but you notice they dodge in immediately. You toss your weapon, they jump, they're going high, and then you're just blocking off this entire angle right here. So that was great. That was a great way to regain your composure. Now, what worries me is if you don't land that Sair, what do you do next? Do you start to panic a little bit? Do things start to go awry? So now it's a last stock scenario. You know it's all or nothing. Your movement is starting to get a little bit more confident, but again, let's take a look at this attack timing. This time it worked, and you might not know why it worked. I think what's happening here is you attack, wait, attack, wait, and then you got hit, so the timing changed there a little bit. But it's always the same timing that I'm noticing in neutral. Attack, wait, attack, wait, attack. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's always the same. And so if your opponent, if their movement is in that angle that you're covering, then it's gonna work out. But if not, you're going to be hit in neutral. They're going to win neutral. Oh, big opportunity here. You don't make a lot out of it, but it is hard in that position. Great read on the movement there. Like, that's just changing up the timing ever so slightly. You see why that works so well is because normally this is a signature that you can react to, but you're reading their jump. You change the timing by immediately going for this attack, and that tiny little switch up was enough to get a big signature. Now you're in your opponent's head a little bit. It's almost even. Based on the defense, you're kind of winning. So let's see if you get antsy. Let's see if you start to rush a little bit, especially in this offstage, like I mentioned earlier. Yes, that was the case. So like I mentioned at the, was it this stock? The end of the first stock where you got hit off stage? No, it wasn't. This is where you get hit by the side sig. And this is sort of, I think, you're giving up a lot of space here because you're afraid you're almost dead, right? It's like this HP is scary, so you're moving all the way this way, but this actually causes you to get KO'd faster when this hits, right? From here. Generally speaking, you do want to stay more close to the center stage. So missing this dare, of course, you want to evade, you want to escape. And so you're walking away, you're trying to get the end light because you see them approaching you. This is a very high risk play. Because if it doesn't hit, you get KO'd. And if it does hit, you just get a little bit of damage. Generally, they're going to be wanting to go for big plays when you're in the red like this, and that's a little bit of how the game started to slip away. But yeah, the panic off stage is certainly something to look at. This is just a little bit of a rush. It's unfortunate not fully knowing this hitbox, thinking that you're safe, trying to jump above it, jump through it, but I think that's just a little bit of a rush. Tiny little mistake. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's more so looking at the pattern of what happened that led you to that scenario. So I think what you described is pretty accurate. Your strengths, your weaknesses. Let's see if anything changes in this next game. This is also a loss against a Rayman player. Let's see if there's the same attack patterns. Big moment off stage, huge, and a little bit of a rush. So I think the offstage is definitely something to look at. Like right here, you get an early read, which is really, really nice. You get this on the chase dodge, huge, and then even follow up with a dare. So now what are Rayman's options, right? They got hit with the dare. They're ending up right here. So they could immediately jump out. That's a very low, I think, percentage play. They could jump up, which is also not that common, or they could jump directly here. This is, in terms of the jumps, this is like the most likely, I would say, this jumping back in. Or they could wait you out and drop a little lower. In this scenario, I think what you're reading is an instant jump without any attack, which is common. People do that a lot, right? You're reading the instant jump with this ground pound. But if you're trying to reach 2400, you're trying to reach a higher level of diamond than you already are. I think the odds of that working out is a little low. I do think this is a play that is more of a plat trap, a low diamond trap than anything else. And so you don't land it, whatever. It's the start of the game. I'm overanalyzing, I think, right there. But then you do it immediately again. So this is 2 times in a row where you're getting hit by the exact same wake up with this Rayman, is immediately doing a recovery to get back. Now this can teach you some things. It can teach you that this Rayman is maybe uncomfortable being in that spot. They were hit off stage so early. Again, an early recovery there. They were hit off stage very early. Something to be careful about for future games. So yeah, the offstage game is a big thing that I'm noticing. A lot of rushing, I would say, impatience, hoping things work out, and then building momentum off of that, rather than creating scenarios for it to work out, and maybe playing your cards a little bit closer to the chest earlier in the game, and taking note of why you're getting hit. So I'm going back to the scenario again, not to harp on it, but why do you get hit here? It's not because you had a wrong read, necessarily. It's because you had a wrong read that you went for immediately after getting a wrong read before, if that makes sense. So like getting a wrong read and getting hit for it, can't really fault that, right? That's the point of reads, it's higher risk. But because it's the exact same read 2 times in a row that leads you to get hit 2 times in a row, that's something to think about for future games. Anyway, let's get to the stock right here. I missed the KO here. The neutral game, especially on the axe, I think is a lot weaker than the bow. Certainly a lot weaker than the bow. As particular with these sidelights, I think the spacing on sidelight is something to practice for sure. Right here, you're reading some movement and trying to punish this down air, but from your position, neutral light is 100% the play because of how sidelight moves you. It's a much bigger risk, and then you just ate 30 damage. So that's something to be careful about. Good coverage on that side light there. That Rayman 100% did not expect it. Throwing out some signatures. They're just floating around. It is hard to catch people floating around. Axe has a good method of dealing with it, with your downlights, with your signatures. And then getting, I would say, a little bit lucky on this KO. This Rayman tends to recover high every single time. They could have time to drop off here, just didn't think they were going to get hit. Offstage, 100%. Let's gonna take a look at that. So here it looks like you get KO'd pretty early, and the exact same read once again on this offstage play. So you hit the side air, you immediately go for the jump ground pound. It didn't work the last 2 times, doesn't work the 3rd time either. This is, by now, I think a point where you can identify, okay, this one is not going to work against this player. Going for these wake up ground pounds. Now I imagine you go for this because this worked in the very, very beginning of the game, where you hit this wake up ground pound on their dodges, and it's sort of put into your mind, okay, that's gonna work. But a very different scenario. I can't fault you for going for that either, really. But the panic jumps, we can really notice the panic jumps off stage, especially this. Like this looks like pure panic. You get hit by this down air, you have a lot of options. They're unarmed, they're gonna lose out if you jump nair or something like that. They're going for an instant jump read. This could even be a KO scenario, but because you immediately did a little bit of a panic, it ended up slipping away. You're still in it though. You're definitely still in this game. I don't think there's any reason to feel like you're out of it. You just gotta play really cleanly. This axe into axe, I think, has shown a little bit of nervousness as well. Maybe a little bit of just hoping things work out. And now the game is starting to slip away. It can feel a little nerve-wracking. Going for SIGs, sort of getting hit by these recoveries over and over again, which to me, I feel like, based on what I've been seeing, the defense and your ability to lock in these big moments can start to maybe slip a little bit, which is what you were mentioning about paying attention to everything at once. So when it comes to not getting hit, paying attention to a lot of things, I think when you're practicing it, just look out for a couple. You can't look out at everything at once at the, like, from the onset, if that makes sense. Okay, big moment here. Not getting the ground pound. It is what it is. A little bit of a rush off stage again. Maybe could have waited out just for a second, but you still cleaned it up. It's okay. Yeah, paying attention to one thing at a time, getting accustomed to that. You're going to lose games by doing that, but getting used to, okay, I do not want to get hit by the long range moves of Axe in the beginning of the stock. Then, as you get used to that, you can start to incorporate a little more. Okay, I'm going to consider this character's signatures too. I'm going to start to incorporate maybe some of their weird gravity cancel ranges as well. So it's sort of adding one thing to pay attention to at a time. And yeah, rushing to get back on stage again. And do we see the same dodge habit from the previous game? Let's see. Yeah, sort of similar. It's not the same with the dodge in, but you do tend to dodge up and then mash jump a lot when you get nervous, trying to get back on stage. I think the reason why this Rayman hits this read, despite not actually getting the dodge read, is because right here, you're rushing on stage. And then before that, right here, you were rushing on stage, immediately just trying to get back, it looks like. So yeah, adding one thing at a time I think will help with that overwhelming feeling. And then paying attention to the off stage, like why am I getting hit? Why is something not working out? Which is hard to do in live gameplay. Again, all of this is much easier in hindsight. And there's that dodge up again. And let's see how you play against this spear. Now this is a weapon that can certainly wall you out, which is difficult. Rushing back on stage, yep, rushing back on stage with an attack, same thing. Now you wait it out just a second longer, just a hair longer, get your bearings, and you end up getting a hit for it. Not saying that you have to wait things out, but based on how you've been playing, I think just mixing up the timing even a little bit will help out. That's sort of another trend, is mixing up the timing. So I think you're really paying attention to your offense and trying to find a hit, trying to figure out how you can get a hit, which causes the defense to suffer. Like right here, for example, immediately like, okay, I got to get this downlight. They're far away. But this player, the 7 players in a whole another world of their own. Like in the beginning of this stock, they're not really even playing against you. They're just hitting, right? They're just attacking. And so they're in their own world. And I think the best way that you can really combat players like that is to play your game. Adjust, adapt. They're playing against a CPU right now. They would do the same thing 10 out of 10 times, it seems like. And so yeah, you're at this point, you may be a little bit like, why did I even get hit? Things didn't really add up there, and suddenly I was in kill percent. And I think focusing not purely on your own offense, but a little bit on the defense as well will help with that. And then focusing on like the specific player that you're up against. What is it that they're doing that is working right now? And why is this player hitting me when it feels like they shouldn't be because it doesn't feel like they're good? I think that's sort of a mental thing as well. All right, let's see the start of the stock. Is the same sort of attack pattern, attack timing that we were looking at in that first game, where you wait a little bit, then attack, wait a little bit, then attack, wait a little bit, and then attack. It seems like it's very similar, but this time it's working out a lot better, so maybe you have a little more confidence. Grabbing the axe here, doing a lot of jumps. I do feel like, again, the axe feels so much weaker. It doesn't necessarily feel like you're putting on pressure with movement at all. It's more like jump, 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 attack, jump, 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 attack, and then staying on the ground with your range. I think getting a little bit more used to... Okay, that's good you avoided that, because I probably wouldn't. It's a hard sig to avoid. Yeah, I think the axe and being comfortable being close to your opponent without attacking, that is something to practice. Because a lot of the time you're going for something hoping your opponent's movement is going to hold the same direction they were in previously, and if your timing is just ever so slightly off with that, then you're going to get hit for it. That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Right here, this neutral light is great. I think your instinct is probably telling you, I just got a Sair, but if they move to the right, the Sair misses. So getting this end light here, you can even see they were trying to dash to the right. Now maybe the timing wouldn't be perfect, but I just think that was so good. That was really, really good. It's set up into a potential read scenario with the down sig. You didn't get punished the first time, go for it a second time. That is also a very common habit. Going for a sig twice. It's like you don't use a sig for a minute and then you use two in rapid succession. That's also a very common habit. The first one's usually well positioned. The second one, not so much. Okay, getting a little bit antsy for this KO, pushing off stage. You tend to also go for the same type of edge guard every time, where you knock someone off stage and then you go low, because Bo is really good at covering this. Your down air will just cut off this angle entirely. But if people go high and above you, then it sort of just gives up the whole scenario. I noticed that against the Rayman as well. So sometimes maybe cover this high angle. This 7 player is going to use cannon, maybe side air back to the wall, and that can give you a potential follow-up edge guard. But something to look out for sure. Very high risk play, I would say, right here with this downlight. Downlight will net you a KO, but they're getting close to your range. Of course, this is not a reactable scenario. You're not going to be reacting to this. Like, this is not, you know, it's impossible. But I would say maybe getting your bearings a little bit for a second. And getting a little lucky there, I would say, with them going crazy with the cannon. But here is an example of your automatic habit of dodging up coming to bite you. So be careful about that for sure. You also tend to immediately dodge anytime there's any kind of string starter, which, you know what, maybe that's not entirely true. There were some orb scenarios where it wasn't, but I would say mix up the dodge timing as well if you can. Now, I'm adding so many more things to think about, so what I said earlier about doing one at a time, that's really what I recommend. 100% what I recommend. All right, red HP. This is where things get antsy. This is where things get scary. Are you going to rush back on stage? You kind of did a little bit, once again, attacking to get back, and then just jumping. This is, I think, one of the easiest habits to say, okay, this is something I got to work on. Because every time you're getting back on stage here, it's like you're panicking. You're jumping. You're jumping big time. You're panicking on the Anakin Mos Eisley map. And jump, get back. And I think being more comfortable, being chill here is big. And going back to that first game where you did an axe dare, like right here, then retreated back to the corner and immediately tried to attack, very similar thing. I think being comfortable and being okay with being in the corner is going to be big. Here, it just seems like a read on your movement. You get some good hits. Read on your movement, they immediately wake up. Now this is sort of, again, this player is not really playing against you here. I don't think they necessarily have a read. I think their instinct is just when they get hit, immediately attack. And it seems like that was getting you from the very, very beginning. Struggling against players that just wake up attack, I think, is a very common habit. It comes down to, I would say, because not every attack is going to have the same range, being very precise and intentional with your movement. That's a big one. So for example, when you have this scenario right here, where you're feeling on fire, you have a read, you're getting back into it, you evade the KO, you're getting your hits where you want to, big combo, weapon toss, and then you're probably going for an immediate dash attack here. Maybe just chill. Knowing that in the earlier stocks you were getting hit without realizing it, your combos were getting interrupted, maybe this is a time where you can chill. Because if you chill, the worst that happens is you have center stage basically, and then they're gonna try to get to center stage. But if you don't chill, the worst that happens is they immediately attack you. So just being okay, being in this scenario, maybe patrolling back with a jump, a very intentional jump, because from here on cannon, the only thing that can hit you if you jump is like a jump Sair, and that's a little higher risk. So something that you might be able to react to without realizing it. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think the moments that you showed some shine in were really great. You got a little excited, it seems like. And then the habits, the small habits added up, especially in this game. I think this one shows it the best. Overall, you did very good, but the small habits added up. So hopefully that helps. I don't know how coherent I was. I might just be dumping info on you. If there's even one thing that helps you or helps anyone else, then I consider that a win. All right, bye-bye.